Stocks are falling fast. Now we're in a correction. Morgan Stanley's chief investment officer thinks the market's going to recover soon. However, what we want to do is find individual stocks that outperform the market regardless of whether it goes up or goes down from here. In this short video, I'm going to show you a ticker I identified in Stocks Community. You can get a free trial of Stocks Community at the link below for 7 days, availability limited. The ticker went on to make a 24% move in less than a month. This is a time when the market went down more than 5% at one point. I'm going to tell you exactly how I identified the ticker. You're going to see a real Stocks Community call that you have access to in that trial, and you'll see how I picked this stock. Marvell Technologies, which is a company that does semiconductors. It's implicated in memory, optics, optoelectronics, as well as it has a partnership with NVIDIA. They recently had earnings. Watch this video to see how I identified a stock that went up significantly at a time when the market went down. If you like what you see, find the next one in real time with us. Click the link below, stockscommunity.com/trial. It's Friday, March 6th. And we got a gap down. So we're not predicting the market. That would be bold. It's easier to predict individual stocks. Now, with that said, sometimes you have to be a little bit risk off. And this is pretty rough. This is a pretty significant gap down, % plus. So, recent ideas, AT&T is actually holding up pretty well so far. Plug definitely took a dip yesterday. This was a little bit speculative regardless. But that's why we do tight stops. And then the idea from yesterday, Twilio actually is holding up so far, interestingly. If we look at IGV, it's hanging in there. And then IBIT gapping down. So of course, one thing people have had on their minds is, well, can you short tech stocks, right? And QQQ has just been chopping. So buying SQQQ has actually been pretty difficult. I mean, there was a time it made sense, January 28th. But where are we at here? Right here. That would have been up here. It's just chop is the most difficult. So let's take a look at what's going on today and see if there's anything. I mean, CF continues to perform. So that was on watch yesterday. It wasn't particularly interesting to me. But it did gap up over that breakout level, just given this sort of messy red day. But impressive. Marvel, I would almost say an earnings reaction might be the most favorable idea. I don't recommend that typically, or really almost ever. But in this environment where we're just chopping, it's not totally outside the question. Obviously, I'm going to ignore this. PBR. Sorry about the chart. That's just a thinkorswim issue. Also in that earnings reaction category, Rivian. Kroger also had a good move on earnings, which is why, earnings is maybe a little more interesting. Canadian Natural, this is just charging up. And then BNI, we don't want anything to do with that. Oxy, we just look at crude. Big move today. Not a small move. And it is reminiscent of Venezuela, where you had the sell-off. See if we can take a look at one of these stocks to really see it. You had the sell-off, and I think it might have been somewhere in here. I think it might have been here. Gap up, sell off, and then just drifted up. Gap off, sell off. Maybe recovering. But even though crude oil is up, Chevron's up, ExxonMobil is not. So a little too much nuance there. EQT is coming at base a little bit. Yeah, this is not an interesting. Another oil stock, PLO. It's a little bit extended. Their manufacturing name, sort of no man's land. And then PL, the space name with the SpaceX IPO, Euphoria. That's just sort of riding that moving average. I don't know how interesting that is. Let's come back. XTI, NTRA, Rocket Lab, no, APA. Well, it's just kind of like CF, isn't it? It's in mining. The oil name, massive gap up. Their mining name. And then defense. Not a lot of interest there. But this definitely has buying volume, so it's tempting. Don't really know how far this can possibly go. It's big moves in the past, but it's been a while. This is a 3-year chart. So this is probably going to have to digest a little bit. I don't think it's a good entry here. Same with Kroger. Marvel, however, semiconductor name. It's had big runs in the past. Could it sell off like here? It could. But that's definitely in the running for stock of the day. Of course, as always, I've mentioned, if you're watching these lives after the fact, the recording, it's not great to buy a stock every day, of course. But it is good to think, hey, where is money rotating and where could this best stock be? If you really want to own Rivian, this is the Chinese index. Not really, right? It's a real estate name. Maybe it's coming out of a base, but it's kind of choppy. Another manufacturing name. Nope. These are just bounces. So I think it's got to be Marvel. Marvel is definitely, I mean, this is really pushing, but I think it's going to experience some resistance here. Not a lot cooking. And if we just sort of look around the horn, energy, little red day after a gap up, discretionary, red day gap down, staples, red day gap down, industrials, red day gap down, utilities, red day gap down, home builders, red day gap down, pharmaceuticals, red day gap down, financials, it's actually healthcare, red day gap down, financials, red day gap down, small caps, red day gap down, NASDAQ, red day, futures as a whole, big red day, Ethereum, red day, XRP, I'm not sure that's XRP, Solana, nothing. So this Marvel earnings is really it, as far as I can see. A lot of manufacturing names. Optoelectronics, you know, maybe it can find some sort of a base here, but don't love it. It's just how it is sometimes, you know. If you're looking for something to buy every day, well, you'll find something, but it might have been better to not look. So, yeah. And look, I mean, we could have a gap up over the weekend. There could be some Trump tweet, truth, X post. And these were, you know, the opportunities to dip by at rock bottom prices, you know. But that's not really a pattern to me. I don't think that's predictable. Definitely don't want to be buying MicroStrategy, this Bitcoin treasury here. Tech stocks could rally, but they also may not. You know, you could buy commodities off this moving average, CDE, for example. Gold's holding in there. Silver's holding in there. So that's the idea. It's unusual, but Marvel. So the way to enter this would be like so. Sorry, not this gold miner. Marvel. That's what we're looking at a 10-day, 30-day, 180-day. There's definitely some resistance around here. You can see it over here. Okay, around $89. But all we really have to worry about is this thing going to resolve to the upside or the downside? This is the resistance level from after hours and pre-market. So in my view, best to risk like a percent here. If you want to take a look at this, I don't really recommend it. And look for a 10-15% move to the upside. So you could risk this high for pre-market. It's not a lot of volume here, too. I mean, there's 400,000 in a candle at most. But that's what I would say makes sense. So that would be the stop. Don't get price targets, but you can see you might be able to trim some into this resistance, about 10% up, right? And then might pull back, chop around for a week or two. And then if you get another move up, maybe trim a little more, and then just hold this position for the remainder. So that's the idea. If it works, we're right about 20% of the time, like a baseball player. Hopefully, we're right on really good ones. Otherwise, we could have a 90% win rate, right, and just foul the ball, like a 90% hit rate. That's not good. All right, enough analogies. Have a good weekend. See you on Monday. Check out the course. 3 minutes a day.